everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have with me the guy you want to talk to if you're looking for some online dating, Mr. Richard Kuhns. He is the author of Internet Dating for Dummies Like Me. He's worked with thousands of individuals managing stress, anxiety, and relationships. And boy, oh boy, do I have questions for him. But first and foremost, welcome to the show. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Online dating, online dating. So as I travel around in this world and, do my listening in and reading, it seems like we as a culture have this sort of love-hate relationship with online dating. I hear a lot of people expressing displeasure, saying that, it's very hard to find people being authentic online dating, saying they feel like it's shopping in a grocery store. There's just way too many options, but yet people continue to see this is one of their only or greatest potential viable resources. What do you think the whole interest in online dating is versus the old fashioned way of just seeing somebody at the grocery store and saying, hey, can I have your number?
Well, first of all, I think without online dating, I probably would have done no dating. So, I'm not quick on my feet. I don't come up with, there are a lot of guys like me, shy, introverted. I may not look shy and introverted. I don't know. But yeah, coming up with pickup lines or that's just not my thing. I'm like out in left field. So online dating was perfect for me. You don't have to respond immediately. It's not a telephone conversation. So you can take your time. You can think about what you're going to write and what you're going to say, the approach you're going to use. And you don't get that time if you meet somebody in a grocery store. Okay. It's boom, boom, and you if you don't make your impression in 5 seconds, you're out the door, so to speak. Now, there may be a lot of guys who are great. You can, I guess, get a coach and learn how to do that and get those lines down. But without that natural ability to get your line down and know what to come up with in the moment, it never worked for me.
Okay. Now, as somebody is approaching the online dating experience and they're saying, hey, this is something I want to try, thrusting yourself into it, getting your feet wet in the online dating experience, what are some tips to get started in the process?
Well, the tips, obviously, you want photographs. And every online dating platform suggests you post photographs today, videos. I'm from the era of like 20 some years ago, before we had video, before we had Instagram, before we had Facebook and all that stuff to go along with it. So, and then you need to come up with a nice profile, an interesting profile that describes you and what you're looking for. You don't have to be precise and write a book about it, but a couple of paragraphs about yourself, what you like about yourself. Now that sometimes is troubling because some people don't like anything about themselves. And that's where a problem comes in, because some people, they say, well, if I could just find somebody that would like me, and that's the wrong approach. If you don't like yourself,
nobody else will.
You need to learn how to like yourself. And that's another book I have, My Dog Got Run Over by a Rainbow, which is all about building self-esteem, learning how to really like yourself.
Okay.
Even on a bad hair day, that's the idea. Unless you can like yourself on a bad hair day and for making the worst mistake in the world and be able to say, okay, I blew it. I messed up. I'm unhappy about that, but I like me. I love me.
Good tips, good pointers. Now, on the other side, so you're approaching online dating, you or I, let's say, with very honest intentions. So we get our profile picture, our video, we take the time to create our written profile or whatever. But you and I know very well that there's not always honest people out there on the other end of the computer screen. Are there some tips that you could offer to protect yourself from the vultures of the online dating world?
Google their name.
Okay. Okay.
Go on their Facebook page, check them out. Go on their Instagram, see if they're there. Communicate with them a couple of weeks, because you're right. There are a lot of people who will rip you off. They will try to steal money from you. They'll create, you'll get to know them and they'll say, oh, my mother's got a big problem. She's going to have a heart attack. She's got a heart attack and so forth. Can you send some money? Well, never, ever send money to somebody that you have never met.
Okay. Okay.
Now, so they're scam artists, a lot of scam artists.
Okay. And also, I think one of the things that I'm hearing when I hear people talk about online dating is there's so many options, and it can be overwhelming because it's just pictures and pictures and pictures and profiles, and sometimes everything starts to blur. Everybody's saying the same thing. How do you find that one in the sea to respond to, or like, I want to go on a date with this one? Because, you know, we're now in a situation where you could actually be talking to somebody in a whole different state and or whatever. So it's just that the window of opportunity is so large here. How do you pinpoint?
Well, I'd like to go back one step, and the Instagram, Facebook, and if you're getting into somebody, it may be well worth running a background check on them.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, back into this one. The more people that you communicate with, the better. You get to know them all. You need to keep notes. You need to this person, this email address, whatever, you need to keep notes as to what you've discussed, what you've said. You need to keep their birthday, the name of their children, what kind of car they drive, because it's kind of embarrassing if you're talking to somebody and you're, you know, so, I mean, it's a game. It's kind of like a game, but everybody plays the game, but nobody wants to know that they play the game.
Okay. Okay.
So they want to believe that you're the only one talking to them while they're talking to 5 or 6 people as well. But they want to know that you're the only one talking to them. They want your attention.
Okay. Now, when do you, or how much back and forth do you allow before you say, I actually want to meet this person in real life? Is there like a, you know, we should talk online for a week, or we should talk online for a day, or, you know, when is it safe to make that transition from online to offline?
Anywhere from 15 minutes to 3 weeks. I don't know. You just get your vibes and go for it. You know, you have to play it by ear.
Okay.
I used to be a musician, and in the beginning I played with the notes, you know, reading the notes. And then after we got our band going, it's called play by ear. Okay. Okay. And so that's where your intuition comes up. May not always be right.
So if somebody takes no initiative, or, you know, is kind of giving you the runaround 2 months later, you know, is it okay to say you're wasting my time?
Probably.
Okay.
And you probably would never even get around to saying you're wasting your time. You would just drift off onto somebody else because you would be, like I said, be communicating with perhaps 3, 4 people at the same time. And so, okay, so there's one less.
Mm-hmm. Now, you bring up something, communicating with more than one person. So my question with the online dating experience is, because you're still out there shopping, you're still out there dating. Is there a particular point? So we've now transitioned from dating online to offline. We've met somebody. When do you say it's safe to say, okay, I'm not going to explore online dating so much? I'm not going to still be out there looking.
Well, obviously you want to get an indication that the other person is interested in meeting. So you ask them, when are we ready to take the next step? That's a basic, simple question. Are we ready to take the next step and connect and meet and go from there? Now, being in the age of COVID-19, and this worked very well for me many years ago, it's how I met my wife, in fact, is that I used to have a very, lot of sensitivities with the foods I ate. So restaurants were, for the most part, out. unless I sat there and questioned the chef for about 20 minutes to make sure the margin was not margin, but real butter and not a blend of butter and stuff like that. So it works very well today because restaurants are closed inside, they're closed. They're opening up some of them with 20%, but still it's kind of iffy. I would meet them at their home. Now that would blow most people's mind. Now, who would have a first date? What woman would have a first date with a guy that she's only met online at her home?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there would be conversation about my food sensitivities, and I bring in the fact that I learned phenomenal cooking skills from my ex-wife. I am an excellent chef, and in turn, well, today the subject is COVID-19. So rather than going out and dealing with COVID-19 and so forth, you use the conversation. And in my book, it has recipes. So you can never have been in the kitchen at all. And the recipes take you through step by step. So you can make perfect shrimp scampi if they like shrimp scampi, lobster, crab legs, the big ones, not the little ones. And there's about maybe 20 different recipes in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the good news is that you have a participation going on here. It's not like you're meeting and you're sitting across from a table. Now, that's also a good approach too. You can meet for coffee. And my advice is always sit across the table from your date and look for opportunities to hold hands or touch. That's a good sign. If you, during conversation, if she touches your hand or so forth, that's a great sign. But it's not necessarily something that tells everything to you, because some people have stress-related Raynaud's syndrome where they have cold hands and clammy hands, and they're going to keep their hands down here. They're not going to come close to touching you because they're afraid that you're going to think something's wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
But most people, during conversation, you touch hands, stuff like that. So you're very cordial. You have a good conversation about their interest. Never get into talking about yourself or bragging about yourself. Never wear sloppy clothes. Don't go around giving advice to them. Don't try to impress them. Don't be a mommy's boy. Breath mints. One of my first dates, she was a very beautiful woman. Of course, I was only in my 20s. And she got in the car and she said hello. And I thought there was a sewer turned loose. So bad. I had no idea. Of course, that was before the time of Tic Tacs, or I would have offered her one.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a turnoff. Very beautiful woman, such a turnoff. And this is the anxiety aspect that many people have about meeting somebody. They get anxious, they get into the fight or flight, and their muscles get a little tense, their sweat gland activity happens, their stomach stops digesting, their breath goes bad. So it's important to learn also to use some stress management things.
Okay.
And basically, bottom line is do some deep breathing. Maybe before your date, work out. Use up all those hormones that get you ready to fight or run. Do a good, or do something that you're going to have a real good time doing so that the date won't be such of a big event for you. It'll be a small part of your day rather than the biggest part of your day. Okay. So, and then also realize that some dates don't happen. You get all worked up and you go there and you get a call and it's not going to happen. Could be an automobile, a car problem, could be the ex-husband came over, or who knows.
So, getting the stress and anxiety off of you as you prepare for the date, we see that. But sometimes what happens is you're there and in your mind, you've had your list of 10 questions and you ramble through them. And now you're both kind of looking at each other like, okay, now what? So now the stress and the anxiety bubbles up while you're in the
Well,
process of the date. How do we kind of move through that?
okay, let me go back, because we are at having coffee, and maybe we're having a conversation. We're very cordial. There might be some hand touching, and then I would get up and go to the restroom. And if I'm getting good vibes, so I start the date by sitting across from the lady, and if I get good vibes, I take a break, get up, and I come back a different persona. I sit next to them, put my arm around them, and whisper something in their ear. Look hot tonight, or something like that. And there we go from cordial to being personal.
And that takes away all the stress and anxiety.
Melts away, totally gone. She gets relaxed. She's into it. You're into it. Again, you have to read the first signs. If you don't get that touch, if you don't get that, because then she's wondering, well, how are we going to go to the next step? You're wondering, how are we going to go to the next step? You're sitting across from the table from me. Are we going to go? When are we going to hold hands? If we're going to hold hands. So all those questions get dissolved. When you come back from the restroom, you sit right next to them, put your arm around them, and whisper something sweet into her ear.
Okay, so then my question is, if you are having the date, you're in the process of the date, and she's being friendly but not touchy-feely, but she's engaging in the conversation or whatever, but you can sense that she's taking it slow, not necessarily that she's not feeling you or into you. How do you move forward with that? Because she's not, you could tell she's not going to be receptive to the touchy-feely, but she's not giving you the impression she doesn't like you.
Right. Well, that's date number 2. So
Okay.
you look at what your interests are during the conversation. So you've made note of what her interests are. She loves zoos. Or she's never been to a zoo, or she's never been to an aquarium, or what she'd like to do. And so the next date, you suggest we do that. Okay. So that is a transition to the next date.
All right, I got you. Now, you had mentioned earlier, with your personal experience, because of your food allergies, you prefer first dates to be in the home. But today's world is not the safest world. And it used to be.
It never has been.
I can't even say that it's not the safest world for women, because I hear so many stories of men being put in precarious situations. So, we have the looking at somebody's profile on Facebook and, maybe even a background check, but sometimes we don't. I mean, is there some other safety elements that we could explore for the first date? Because I'm assuming that you want to do the background checks and the Facebook and all that stuff.
It's good to check all that out. And of course, have you ever heard of the Craigslist killer?
Yes, that's.
Do you know who the Craigslist killer was and who they killed? Because everybody, Craigslist killer, thinking that it was some guy luring women. It was a married couple luring men to their home, and they would kill them in Pennsylvania. Wow. So you can go to a cocktail lounge and get roofies put in your drink and be raped and murdered. So, I mean, there is really no real guaranteed safe place to be in this world. So that's where you do want to do your due diligence and background checks and so forth. And the beauty about the date in the home is you don't have all that other stuff, that clutter around you of going somewhere and meeting up and driving there separately and waiting for a table and all the stuff you go through. And you're planning a project. Now, this is totally different, because you've gone from having a first date to planning a project, and that is totally different than having a first date, even though it is a first date. We're going to work out the menu. I'm going to bring this. You have this. Do you have that spice? Do you have this? So you're going she has the wine. And so we start planning a project. So it's much more relaxed. We get there, we're working together. It's not like she across from me, or we're working together in the kitchen. We might first of all sit down, have a drink of wine, a glass of wine, a little conversation. You now are in her environment. You see the paintings on the wall. You see the furniture. You know what her interests are. You have so much more to discuss and converse about than you have if you're sitting in a restaurant looking at the doodles on their walls.
I understand. Now, let me express one of my concerns, I think, as a woman, about inviting somebody into my home on a dating experience. I think I would be concerned that if it doesn't work out, and let's say like 3 months, 6 months down the road, I'm having the conversation with him, like, I don't really think this relationship is going to work. It's not going anywhere. It's not working for me. But let's say he still likes me, but now he knows where I live and he won't leave me alone. Like, I think I have those concerns.
I think if you're 6 months into a relationship, you're already going to know where each other live.
I don't know. I can be very private.
Plus, I've already Googled you. I already see your apartment building. I see your house. You're living in a 2-story house. I know the roof. I know everything about you.
Yes,
but you're right. If I'm over at your house and it's not going well, this is great. You excuse yourself. You go to the restroom, and you take your phone with you, and you plan ahead with a friend and say, hey, if I need help, will you call me? So you get your call at 10:30 and she says, I need help. And you announce to well, my friend has got a problem. I'm sorry, I have to cut the date short. Or the headache. Oh, I got this terrible headache. So there's a dozen ways of getting out.
Okay. Now let me make sure I get in your book here, Internet Dating for Dummies Like Me. What other, because we've talked about some of it, but what other resources will people find in your book, Internet Dating? Because clearly in our conversation, I might need this. I'm still walking around the grocery store or the car wash thinking, oh, somebody's going to say hello to me. But, clearly we need to explore the internet dating option. So what will we find in the book?
Well, it's the A to Z, just basically everything we've talked about here. The focus is obviously on having the first date in the home. It's about also getting to know a little bit about the person rather than you looking at whether or not she is going to like you. Look at whether or not you might want a relationship with her. So if you are, say, for instance, a touchy-feely person, you don't want to get in a relationship with somebody who doesn't like touchy-feeling. You don't want to get in relationship with an intellectual person that never gets into touchy-feely, or vice versa. If you like kissing and she doesn't, well, that's like oil and water. They don't mix, kind of thing. You want to find out, like, for instance, about their past history, their past relationships. If they now have a great relationship with their past husband, that's phenomenal. If on the other hand, they were in bad court battle and trying to get everything, counting everything and making sure that justice is rendered, and being vindictive and angry with them, you don't want that kind of person in your life. You want to look for issues of maybe post-traumatic stress disorder and how their relationships is with their kids, because people with post-traumatic stress disorder and even bipolar disorders, they can be the most lovable, wonderful person you'll ever meet, and you think this person is ideal. But if you look at their relationships and get to know them, you'll find out that they are abusive with their own children, for instance, and go off the deep end very easily. So you want to step away from that. That you also want to find out, for instance, was their husband an alcoholic or into drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's real easy to pity these ladies. Oh, she lived with this man and he was a drug addict or he was into drinking. But you got to start thinking, why was he drinking? Was he escaping the relationship? Was she the contributing factor? Was she empowering him? Would I end up going, if I got in relationship with her, would she drive me to drinking? So you got to look at that. These are questions you may never ever think about. You're looking for compatibility. You're looking for touching and kisses and relationship, but you need to look beyond the right now and into where it may go through the personality.
Okay. Now, when it comes to online dating, we've talked about the actual the people dating and stuff like that. But I'm wondering, when you are considering exploring online dating, is there a hierarchy of sites to go to? Like, this is a better one if you're serious about a relationship and looking for the one, because I hear a lot of it is just the sexual hookup spots.
Well, I experienced, I don't know if it's still chemistry.com was the one I usually went through. And that's where I met my wife. And then there was Craigslist for a long time, but they no longer are taking personal ads. And there's some others that I think you want to go with something like chemistry.com. Or if you're the older set, such as myself, there are dating for people over 60, over 50. So do your research. There's probably 5 or 6 to choose from.
Okay. Did in your personal experience, did it take you a lot of trial and error before you met your wife online?
Bottom line says the subtitle is Meet Your Wife in 30 days or less.
30 days or less.
That's right.
Okay. And did she know first or did you know first that this was going to be something?
I don't know. I have no idea. Can't read a woman's mind.
Oh, good answer. Good answer. Now, one more question, and then we're going to do my question of the day and let you wrap up, because I promised you I was only going to take up 30 minutes of your time. But it seems like, and you mentioned this in the beginning, that I
enjoy talking with you. We could go for all day.
Oh, great. You mentioned in the opening that you tend to have an introverted personality.
Yes.
And I have felt that online dating is really a good niche for people who have these personalities. But I also feel that today's society as a whole, and you hear it when you read these articles about our younger generation, our teenagers and stuff like that, they're feeling extremely lonely and isolated because we tend to really, really depend on technology and our phones, and we're not having actual human to human connection with people.
You mean like these people walking down the street on their cell phone and then they fall into a basement?
Yes, even
or walk in front of a car.
Even when I see people on a date, and they, for all I know, they could be on an online date. They're sitting at a table across from each other, but they're still head down in their phones. It seems like we're becoming introverted as a society, and I think it contributes to the lean on looking for friends and romantic connections online. How do we make sure, because there are some people that are truly genuinely introverted, like I'm assuming that you might be, but I think a lot of people are getting comfortable in this technology disconnect, human disconnect. How do you force yourself to be more humanly personable in this world of technology?
Well, that's a great question, and I really have no answer. I wish I did.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think that's one of the fears that I have, me holding on to my old-fashioned hope, but I just, some things about the online world push us back.
I know Facebook can be very addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And up until probably a month ago, I really never went on Facebook.
Mhm.
And with the election coming up, and I feel very passionate, I'm on Facebook. But once this election is over, I don't think I'll be on Facebook. But I can
Yes.
see you can get addicted, and
Yes.
always.
Yeah, because I even read an article, and I can't remember where there was even an addictive behavior associated with online dating, like the serial online dater. He would, date this person for 2 or 3 months and like, oh, I think there's something better, and cancel that relationship and go looking for something. And he was
The grass
constantly,
is greener on the other side, which is
yes,
discussed in my book.
yes, okay.
That's one of the traps. My book has probably 10 different traps we fall into, and that's one of them. The grass is greener on the other side.
And it's really, just work on the grass that you have. But yeah, that's a good point, because like I said, I was reading his plight, and he had been in the internet online dating for at least the last 5 years, and he was a member of all the different sites, and he was getting to the point where he was seeing all the
Professional dater.
Yes, he was seeing all the different types, all the same females on the different sites, and it
Was he a gigolo?
it was just this and even that, I think, really can make the whole dating prospect very depressing. It's like, I'm getting nowhere. I'm spinning my wheels.
From the male perspective, the same is true, because there are many women who are into dating simply because they want someone to take them to a restaurant and pick up the tab for $100, $150 meal and drink expensive champagne. So I've seen that is true for the man too.
Oh, wow.
And
I don't know. I think I'm still going to just sit at the grocery store. I'm gonna hang out on the cereal aisle and just wait. I'm going to strike the cute little box.
Got to put a little sign up.
Yes,
You got a good line. You got a good line.
We're going to have offline, online dating in the cereal aisle. That's what we're
away from serial daters.
I know, right? All righty. We're going to do the random question, and I want you to let everybody know where they pick up the book. Well, actually, you have quite a few books out, right? More than the one I've talked
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll do that. So let's do the random question. Let's see what we got. Kind of like fishing out there in this online dating world. Let's see what we got.
This scares me.
Okay, well, this might be easy. What long shot have you taken that has paid off?
What long shot I've taken? That's an interesting one. Are you in this reference to the dating world?
Anything in life.
Anything in life?
Anything you feel comfortable discussing. I don't want to put you out your comfort zone.
The long shot thing I've taken was I've taken a personal health issue that almost destroyed my life 20 some years ago and turned it into a very lucrative business. And answer quickly, back in the 90s, I began suffering from a disease called Morgellons disease, skin parasites, the itching and the physical discomfort is enough to drive people crazy. It's somewhat contagious. It can be very contagious. I discovered a diet that I was able to control my symptoms and have launched into where I've written a book about it, how to get your life back from Morgellons, chronic Lyme, and other skin parasites. So this you don't want to talk about on your date.
Not the first one. Not the first one.
Not the first one. You don't want to talk about this. but anyway, I became somewhat of an expert, and we launched soaps and creams that people use to get them out of their skin, to cleanse the skin, along with a protocol. And that's worked out well for me. So I've taken a lemon and made it into beautiful, delicious lemonade.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, Richard, tell people how they pick up internet dating for dummies like me, and some of your other titles that you have that we haven't had an opportunity to bring up today.
Well, the title my dog got run over by a rainbow. It's about building self-esteem. So all you need to do is go on to www.selfesteemcure.com.
Okay.
Selfesteemcure.com. And it's written conjointly with Dr. Vitale, Joe Vitale. Now, the internet dating, you need to go to a main site that I have, which is D like in David, the word stress, STRESS, and then the abbreviation for doctor, DOC, dstress.com.
Okay.
Then you'll see books there, and the internet dating book is there as listed as one of the books.
And where can we pick up your skin creams?
You can go to theorganicskincare.com, theorganicskincare.com.
Okay, great, great. Well, Richard, I have had a wonderful time talking with you today. Like I said, you'll still see me hanging out in the cereal aisle, just waiting, you know, like, hi. Hoping and praying that something will happen. But
and I just walk by you being very shy. And but when I see you online, we'll connect.
Yes, isn't that something? Richard, I thank you for making time for me today. I truly, truly appreciate it. You've brought some smiles to my face.
Thank you. It was I loved working with you, being with you. Okay. Bye-bye.
That is all for today's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.